This is how we are treated, approached, if at all, talked down to, dismissed, deflected upon. We bring up a situation, they turn into the victim. We bring up a situation, it gets dismissed, it gets deflected. To end on a lighter note, I've gotten nothing but support from friends in my close circle, in my inner circle, for bringing this up. Because this is the stuff that we talk about. This is the stuff that we have to deal with all the time. We go out. We're in Oakland. We're in San Leandro. We go to tournaments across the country. We go play hours. We drive hours and hours away to go play fucking disc golf. We go out of our comfort zones. And when we come back, we share with each other what we experienced. And there are many stories out there that people wouldn't even think are real. I've had people get into my face. I've had people tell me that my ancestors came from Africa. This is during a fucking tournament. A sanctioned tournament at that. I had an individual come up to me face to face asking me about information in and around that discussion and blatantly tell me, no, that's not true. During a tournament. No, your people are not from here. You're not indigenous Americans. Your people we brought your people over here as slaves. This was the fucking approach that this individual took in this discussion during a tournament. Do you not think that affects our play, our game? You know people play mind games in disc golf, in all sports, especially in disc golf though. Do you not think that people don't play mind games on us specifically if they feel more threatened? Like I said before, in all sports, who the fuck do you think they're going to be threatened more by? So in response to that threat, what are they going to do? Yes, they play more mind games. Yes, they protect their own. Because if protecting them in that regard is another form of an attack on you. Remember, we're talking about sports. We're talking about points here. Another example of this, downplaying your victories while playing up their failures or missteps. This is another thing, and I'll get into this in future videos, but this is another thing that happens, part of the mind game. I mentioned mind games and how it affects us disproportionately compared to the rest of the people. Here's a really good, solid example. When people feel threatened by individuals in a sport capacity and mind games are involved, in disc golf specifically, this is what happens. One example. When you do something good, it will be downplayed, meaning you throw a great shot, all the credit goes to the disc. All the credit goes to maybe it was a mistake. Oh, you yanked on that a little bit. That's how you got so far out there. What kind of disc was that? Make a 90-foot putt. Oh, those are good putters. What kind of putter was that? That's what I mean by downplaying your victories and playing up. So playing up something else, somebody else does something, fucks up. These individuals are very sensitive a lot of the times. So they need to be played up. That's besides the point. Kinda. Because across the board, this is a very real thing. Needing to be coddled, needing to be played up, especially when you're around people who make you feel insecure or who are a threat to your standing in the arena. So like I said, individuals will use other individuals who are not even in the discussion on your card. Hey man, that was a good line there. He just threw it into a fucking tree 30 feet from the tee pad. And they will find a way to make it sound or look good. It'll either be joked up or it'll be formed up. Like I said, oh, you had some really good snap on that. You snapped it into a fucking tree. But this is what I'm saying. This is an example of being downplayed and being played up. And this is how it affects us. This is how we see it. And it's like I said before, it is not something that is a one-off. This is not me just seeing this. No, this happens. You ask anybody else who you might think knows about this shit. 100% fact. I've been playing for 5 years now. You cannot tell me there's not enough gaslight in the world to tell me that this shit don't exist. Truckloads of gaslight will not cover up this reality. So, I'm glad I got to say that, because that'll go into the next videos that I want to get into, and I'll end it on this good note like I was saying. This is not a little thing. This is not something that could be addressed in a comment. This is an institutional issue. And beyond that, if you really want to get into it, it exists in the institutions of the individuals, the mindset of the people. To downplay somebody, to victimize yourself in response to somebody bringing up this information is a psychological problem. It's a problem. It's a problem that exists in society. And this is a big part of what I'm saying in general with disc golf is just a microcosm of the macrocosm. I don't know why people think that the disc golf community is the exception to the whole world of events. Yes, we have a great community. It is wonderful. Compared to other communities, I would say one of the best, if not the best, especially in sports, communities out there. The people are wonderful. Only in comparison to other people who are terrible. Because when you take everything into account, this information, silence, dismissal, deflection, you're no longer wonderful. You might see yourself as wonderful. You might feel it might be wonderful out there hanging. It might be nice. It's not about being nice. Anybody can be fucking nice. We don't want you to be nice. You know what's being nice? Being real is being nice. Being honest is being nice. Being empathetic is being nice. Not being empathetic is not being nice. Deflecting, dismissing, and playing the victim in light of this situation, that's not being nice. There's nothing cool or wonderful about that. If you take all of the variables into the equation outside of the we're just here to have fun community, you put everything on the chopping block. You put everything up there and look at all of it. It's no longer nice. It's no longer a healthy situation. Because you feel healthy, you feel good, you feel nice, but have you ever thought about how we really feel? Has the disc golf community ever asked us about our situation? Have there ever been any videos, discussions, podcasts, talks about how our people feel about playing disc golf in the disc golf world, in the disc golf community? No. So this is what we see. This is how we engage in that world. Largely, we have to go along to get along. The amount of shit that we have to accept, write off, forget, not take seriously, especially in the disc golf community with people drinking and smoking. You know people are getting mouthy. They're getting crazy out there, saying some fucked up shit. The amount of shit that we have to just take on the chin on a regular basis. If any other demographic of people had to deal with that shit, they would fucking crumble under that pressure. We take it because we've had to deal with it in every aspect of our lives for our entire lives. We are used to this shit. And it should make people who do that shit that we have to get used to, it should make them think about it or uncomfortable at the least, knowing that we have to do that shit. But again, they don't even allow themselves to acknowledge that this exists because they're too busy trying to see how They're right. They're just trying to have fun. And we're wrong. You're not better than us. That's so. Shout out to Hira Disc Golf and Juan, who didn't have to say much, but what he said was a lot. And you can see, if you're truly supporting, he wrote one little ass paragraph I'm getting ready to read off, compared to a whole laundry list of big ass thesis written by Leonard. And the amount of love and support that comes, acknowledgement, lack of dismissal, lack of everything else that I brought up in that other comment, really shows how different we see things, how different we approach these situations. And like I said in the previous video, we take care of ourselves. Not because it makes money, not because this, no, because we are the people. There's not any business minded. The business always comes second to the people in our perspective. It's not like that the other way around. So, Juan, thank you. He says, we've been saying what needs to happen to grow the sport, all sports, especially disc golf, but it falls to ears that don't want to hear unless they come up with it. Because we can't possibly be experts. There's hella gatekeeping in disc golf. Don't at me, no energy for it. He has to put up a wall because he knows if he says anything, they will attack him. It's fucked up that sharing even this little bit of opinion merits a violent response from people just in supporting, in sharing an obvious truth. He feels like he has to defend himself because he knows the attacks are coming. I've been sharing my perspectives on the internet for years now, over 10, 12 years now. Over longer than that. I know how people interact. I'm used to it. I don't give a shit. So I just take whatever comes at me. I expect it. So people who aren't in that world, who haven't been engaging like that for so long, they already know. They know it's coming. So we have to say things like, just don't even try to hit me with that bullshit. Leave me alone. Which is another telling truth to the situation that we're dealing with. We're not dealing with people who are open to even acknowledging what you're saying. Because if you share what you're saying from your heart that acknowledges what was being said in that video, you know you are opening yourself up open to attacks. And that says a lot about the community. It says a lot. For him to have to defend himself like that, just for saying this little bit, says a lot. So to comment on what he said, one of the heaviest parts in there, he says, yeah, we've been saying it forever. Pretty much falls on deaf ears. Because the only way that they will do anything about what we're saying is if they come up with it with them for themselves. They have to control. They have to be the guys who did it. And when people approach our situation from that kind of perspective, you know that they're not doing it with your best intentions in mind, with their best intentions in mind. They don't give a shit about that. And it's not hard to see how he's acknowledging in there, yeah, if you do bring up something, they're not going to come at it from your perspective with you. They're going to come at it from their perspective for them and only use you to add to their bottom line once again. So, in closing, thank you to the people who have supported what I've said. I've waited a long time to say all this stuff. I was hoping I didn't have to, but as time has gone on, I've realized that this stuff needs to be said. It needs to be acknowledged. It needs to be addressed. And until it's said and acknowledged and addressed at the level of which we bring it to the discussion, not at the level of which it's received. Leonard received the information that was shared and responded to it at his level. We're not talking about that. None of what he said in there is relevant to our approach. I will be so bold as to say that. None of the way that he approached what was said in that video is what we're really saying. And it could be argued, like I said before, that it's said that way to control the dialogue, to control the narrative. We are no longer accepting the controllers of these narratives. I'm not going to sit quietly anymore and allow this shit to just happen.